$3.2 billion, Arise Digital is paying the GDP of a small island for just a quarter of True Corporation.
24.95% to be exact, keeping it right under the threshold to avoid a mandatory tender offer. It's classic regulatory dodgeball.
Oh, come on, it's a brilliant Southeast Asian consolidation play. You just hate telecom deals.
I hate paying a massive premium for zero operational control. But speaking of creeping takeovers, wait until we unpack the European soap opera Mundys is pulling with Getlink. The rundown.
$1 billion for powdered food?
It is nutritionally complete powdered food, Nate. Have some respect.
I don't care what Danone's press release calls it. $1 billion for Huel just screams legacy food panic. They're absolutely terrified of these direct-to-consumer darlings taking over the pantry.
Or they just looked at the ridiculous gross margins on selling trendy oatmeal water to tech bros and wanted a piece of the action. It is a pure cash flow play.
Fair enough. Speaking of buying cash flow, let us run through the mid-market deals. Repay Holdings is snapping up KUBRA for $372 million.
Classic payments bolt-on. Repay wants more bill payment solutions. KUBRA has the infrastructure. The strategic fit is obvious.
Exactly. Down in Australia, Count is acquiring financial advice firm Oracle Group for $72.2 million. And Aurelius is officially offloading LSG Asia Pacific to a Japanese consortium.
Kobe Busan and Gourmet Kanea. That is a clean exit for Aurelius. But the real maneuvering today is in Europe. Mundys is trying to increase its strategic stake in Getlink by up to 9.5%.
Trying being the key word. They are doing a staggered approach, 3.5% upfront, and the remaining 6% is pending regulatory approval. It is a highly calculated maneuver to navigate European red tape.
Oh, come on. You do not structure a creeping takeover like this unless you know the regulators are going to put you through the ringer.
It is smart defensive driving.
It is a massive risk. The corporate chatter is already saying that April approval is completely up in the air. If the regulators block the 6%, Mundys is stuck with a weird minority position that doesn't actually give them the leverage they want.
I bet they get it. Mundys knows exactly what they are doing with infrastructure deals.
We will see in April. I am putting a pin in that prediction. But none of these are the elephant in the room today.
Not even close, because Arise Digital just dropped $3.2 billion on a 24.95% stake in True Corp.
Buying it straight from Telenor Thailand, the scale of regional telecommunications consolidation here is just wild.
Analysts are calling it a massive bet on Thai digital infrastructure, but $3.2 billion for a minority stake is an incredibly aggressive valuation.
I spent all morning digging through the structural footnotes on this one.
Then walk me through the math, because Telenor is walking away with a mountain of cash, and I need to understand why Arise thinks this premium is worth it. The big one, $3.2 billion for a minority stake. I am still trying to wrap my head around that number.
24.95% to be exact. And you know, I love a very specific decimal.
Oh, I know you do. But seriously, Arise Digital dropping that kind of cash on True Corporation. That is a massive check just to be a minority partner in a Thai telecom.
Well, look at the number again. 24.95%. It's practically screaming, please don't trigger a mandatory tender offer. They walked right up to the regulatory line, taped their toes to it, and stopped.
Classic structural play, but you have to admit, it's a brilliant move by Arise. They're betting big on Southeast Asian digital infrastructure. Consolidation is the name of the game right now.
Brilliant for who? Telenor Thailand is the one walking away with $3.2 billion. I read the filings, Nate. Telenor is offloading this at an incredible premium. I think Arise overpaid just to get a seat at the table.
I completely disagree. You can't look at this like a standard value play. It's a strategic land grab. If Arise doesn't buy that stake, someone else does, and suddenly they're locked out of the fastest growing digital market in the region. Sometimes you have to pay the entry fee.
The entry fee shouldn't equal the GDP of a small island.
Spoken like a true journalist who never had to build a pitch deck for a telecom merger.
Thank God for that. I prefer reading your pitch decks and finding the math errors.
Hey now, my model's always tied out, eventually.
Sure they did. But let's look at what Arise actually gets. True Corp is a behemoth, yes. But the Thai telecom market is basically a duopoly now. Growth is slowing. They're going to have to squeeze margins to make this $3.2 billion make sense.
They'll bundle services. Digital infrastructure, enterprise cloud, mobile, that's the play. Analysts are calling it a massive bet on continued consolidation.
Analysts also think Danone buying Huel for $1 billion is a strategic masterstroke.
Wait, are we talking about the protein meal replacement powder?
Yes, the corporate chatter is completely out of control. Danone dropping 10 figures on tech bro gruel. Legacy food conglomerates are just throwing money at direct-to-consumer darlings hoping something sticks.
Tech bro gruel. That's harsh. I actually have a bag of Huel in my pantry right now.
Of course you do. Does it taste like $1 billion?
It tastes like cardboard and false hope, but it's efficient.
Just like a good banker.
Ouch. Okay, back to the clever structural plays. If you loved the Arise decimal point, you're going to love what Mundys is doing with Getlink.
Oh, the creeping takeover.
Exactly. They're trying to take up to a 9.5% stake, but splitting it up to dodge the immediate regulatory hammer, 3.5% upfront.
And the other 6% is sitting in regulatory purgatory until April.
Will European regulators actually give them the green light? We need to unpack that maze next. Voices. Market analysts are calling this a Rise digital deal, a massive bet on Thai digital infrastructure. $3.2 billion for just under 25% of True Corp.
I hate the phrase massive bet. It implies some huge risk. They are buying a quarter of a telecom giant in a market that just consolidated down to basically 2 players. That is not a bet, Nate. That is buying a toll booth.
Okay, fair. The Telenor exit makes it a pure duopoly play. But you cannot tell me dropping $3.2 billion does not make you sweat a little.
I sweat when I read the Mundys press release. Industry watchers are calling their Getlink stake increase a, quote, calculated maneuver to navigate complex European regulatory frameworks.
Calculated maneuver is just banker speak for we really hope Brussels does not block us.
Exactly. But I actually respect the structure. They are taking 3.5% upfront and leaving the remaining 6% pending until they get clearance in April. It limits their exposure beautifully.
I strongly disagree. I'm hearing a lot of chatter that the April approval is absolutely not a done deal. If regulators balk, Mundys is stuck with a weird minority stake, no real influence, and a ton of trapped capital. It is a total halfway house.
It is better than paying the full premium upfront and getting forced into a messy unwind.
Maybe, but speaking of weird capital allocation, did you see the gossip on Danone? They are dropping $1 billion for Huel.
Wait, really? The tech bro protein powder?
Hey, I drink that. But yes, legacy food conglomerates are officially hunting direct-to-consumer darlings. The rumor mill is already spinning on who gets swallowed up next.
I need to see the actual revenue multiples on that Huel deal before I buy into any D2C Renaissance narrative.
We will try to hunt down those multiples. Plus, we need to figure out what Repay's $372 million KUBRA acquisition means for the payment sector right after this break. Spill the tea. I'm just saying, $1 billion for powdered food is wild. Danone buying Huel is the ultimate boomer meets bro transaction.
$1 billion for well-marketed birdseed. But every legacy food conglomerate is currently screaming at their corporate dev teams to find the next one.
Oh, absolutely. Every banker is pitching them the next direct-to-consumer darling right now.
Please don't speak those pitch decks into existence. The synergies section alone would give me a migraine.
Fair enough. But speaking of giving people migraines, we need to talk about Mundys and Getlink. This is my absolute favorite kind of corporate theater.
The creeping takeover, it's a classic. They're grabbing up to 9.5%, but doing exactly 3.5% upfront.
And leaving the remaining 6% hanging until they get regulatory approval in April. It's brilliant. They're essentially daring European regulators to stop them once they've already wedged the door open.
Brilliant is a huge stretch, Nate. It's a calculated maneuver to navigate the framework, sure. But don't act like they've outsmarted Brussels. Regulators can absolutely still block that 6%.
Oh, come on. Once you buy the initial stake, the momentum is there. The market is already pricing it in.
Since when do European regulators care about market momentum? Have you read a single antitrust ruling this year? I will bet you a steak dinner April does not go smoothly.
Okay, you're right. That was pure banker brain talking. I'll take that bet, though.
You're on. I'm watching April closely for that and also for the closing details on Repay dropping $372 million on KUBRA. I really want to see how that impacts the broader payments sector.
Well, if you want a real heavy hitter, we need to look east because Arise Digital just dropped $3.2 billion in Thailand, and the telecom landscape is never going to be the same.
A massive bet on consolidation. Tell me how they justified that valuation. Tomorrow's radar. I'm refreshing the European antitrust page every hour tomorrow. This Mundys creeping takeover of Getlink is fascinating.
It's a textbook calculated maneuver. They took 3.5% upfront and left the remaining 6% pending for April. Beautifully staggered to keep regulators calm.
Oh, come on. Beautifully staggered? They split it because they know the back half has a massive risk of getting blocked. I read the initial filings, Nate. They're terrified of Brussels.
Terrified is a strong word for an infrastructure giant. I think they get the green light by close of business tomorrow.
I'll take that bet. Meanwhile, are you tracking the consumer food gossip?
Obviously, Danone dropping $1 billion on Huel. $1 billion for Tech Bro protein powder.
Hey, those meal replacements have margins you'd kill for.
True, but speaking of fat margins, we need to talk about Arise Digital's $3.2 billion telecom play in Thailand.
Oh, we definitely do. Telenor is walking away with a massive payday, and the math on that valuation is wild.